Have you ever watched something that is just so masterful that it really reminded who you are? So yesterday I spent way too much time watching reels, but I stumbled along the reel of Jason Collier. He is a conductor, and I can't even remember where it is. So I'll have the link put in the show notes. It's like 20 minutes long. But he came out, and this was just an excerpt of the performance for that night. And so he came in, and each instrument was playing its own part. So when Jason took the stage, and he was on the stage, and he was pointing to each section of the orchestra. And so he started with the strings, and each instrument in that orchestra ended up having a separate part of two or three notes. And he was pulling these notes essentially randomly out of the air and being able to put it all together. And it was just amazing. And then as he put it all together, because it was a short segment, it was two or three notes for each instrument. And he was telling them, octave tones, everything, which of course I'm reveling because I don't have that music repertoire. My kids will tell you I can't even carry a tune in a bucket, but I have very musically gifted children. So when they put it all together, this included, and he says, okay, do I have every instrument? And they're like, the singers are going, yeah, didn't tell us. And he says, I can't, I'll give it away, but you'll know what to do when it's time. So then he sat down and he started playing on the piano and conducting this beautiful, magnificent orchestra. And then he had the audience involved in singing parts of a very popular song. And it was just amazing as he had this section of the audience and this section. And he was able to, they were singing in a round, the things that we did in elementary school that were so hard to do. It was just like impossible to keep up. But then to see it, and these are total strangers in a beautiful auditorium following the direction that was, completely unrehearsed. And as he pointed to him, it was like it was rehearsed. And it hit me. This is kind of what life is. We all hold our note. Each person holds a different note. And alone, that note is going to sound very simple, very simplistic, very insignificant, possibly. But together, it becomes a symphony. It's like the glockenspiel. So Jason says, do we have a glockenspiel? And it's like, yeah, here I am. And the glockenspiel played one note, not repetitively, just one very purposely well timed note. And when it was all put together, you could hear it. It stood out. And it was really, really amazing. And I was thinking, before I remembered seeing that, and I talked to a few different people and said, I saw this and it was really crazy. It was awesome. And I've, of course, forwarded it in Messenger because that's what we do. And I got a reply back from Mary, and she said, yes, Jason is just absolutely, or Jacob is absolutely amazing. And it's like, yeah, he's amazing. And that's when it really hit me as to how much it really reflects on the life that we live, that no one is insignificant. Every person and every note matters. Every instrument matters. Whatever your instrument matters, that's what is important. And that timing, being conducted by the conductor as to when to come in and to do that, and listening to the instructions and listening to all of that. And so, what is it that we believe about our notes? That we're here and we're part of it. But sometimes I think we get into that belief system that my part doesn't matter, or I'm out of tune, or I don't belong here. I don't belong in this orchestra, or feeling that we possibly missed our cue. So, yeah, that's really important that we don't beat ourselves up, because every part matters. Every single part, every single note matters, and every person matters, and that we are all a part of this. So let's do a little bit of theta here. You listen to what it is. And if you'd like the theta work, you say yes in the comments, say yes out loud. Really, really brings that work home. So let's remove that obligation to feel insignificant or to feel that your one part is too small to matter, because every part is important. So let's remove that obligation to be small. And I know the last few readings I've done, it's about people who are really staying small, staying tucked in where it feels safe. But sometimes you have to be a glockenspiel, and you have to let that note out and to really sing those praises. So if you'd like to remove the obligation that forces you to stay small with the forgiveness package incorporated with that, just say yes out loud, and let's do that work today. That feels good. I've talked before about everyone being their own main character. And so allowing for that space and know that you are your own main character and you are your own glockenspiel. You are your own note. So be significant in your symphony. And this made me think more about the school band. Um, when so in our local school district, kids join band in the summer between fourth and fifth grade. They go to summer band lessons, kind of learn how to put their instrument together, how to clean it, how to start playing some of the basic notes. And that's what they get to do. So then fifth grade is where they actually enter into band, and then it continues through high school, which is 12th grade. And I remember as that proud parent, the first time my daughter was in band and she was playing the flute, and we went to the big celebration of, we'd been to the middle school concerts, and then there is the big fundraiser. It's a soup supper. Everyone donates soup, and we all carry our roasters of soup in, and then everyone donates money, and we eat soup together, and then everyone goes and plays their instruments. you are It's one of the longest band performances of the year. And because the fifth grade band, so fifth, sixth, and seventh, and actually eighth grade as well, but fifth and sixth grade band play together, very beginner, and the struggles they have. They're off key, they're out of rhythm, but they are trying so hard. And then you get to compare that to the seventh and eighth grade band. And then you have the high school band, which is the combined grades of 9 through 12. And from there, there's the specialized jazz bands and other bands. But it's reassuring as a fifth grade parent as you're listening to this and you hear your child struggle at home with the practicing that they're doing at home and the notes that you listen to, and their uneasiness, and they're fighting to do their practice at home. It's reassuring to a parent, a fifth grade parent, when you hear the high school band and knowing what they can become in that hopefulness when they stick with their instrument and they stay in band and they continue to play. Because then they're when in the final of the whole, after each band plays in its sections, then the entire 5th through 12th grade band plays together, and it's magical. And watching those high schoolers play and really become family, and that's one of the things, is that's the group. Your band connections become your family in school, and watching that unity, that sense of family, and watching the confidence grow in these students. And that's kind of like what life is for us. Our mastery is so messy at first. The things we do when we start something new and we want to do it, if it's a craft project, if it's a new job, if it's a new software, anything you do when you're new, it's messy. We didn't come here knowing how to do absolutely everything, but we come here with the will and the drive to do it. This harmony is learned, and your devotion to your craft creates that cohesion, and you find like-minded people, like the band group, and they call them bandies. When the bandies stick together, and it's such a beautiful family atmosphere that they have come together. And I had the opportunity to watch that as I would chaperone their trips, which was always fun. So when you stick with that messiness and you're learning and you're building that family, or I talk a lot of times about building your circle, you get to watch how this chaos that you're experiencing transforms into some real beauty, some things that you can be so truly, truly proud of. There's a difference between the noise and music being the practice and devotion. It all comes together. It really does. And that's how life is. So where are you juggling in your own life, from being in the 5th grade band and starting out with your new instrument to being proficient and being ready to be on the stage? Can you give yourself that grace to just remind yourself you're learning all the pieces and parts? And no, we don't go from opening up our flute, or the girls ended up going on to a clarinet, opening up that clarinet and knowing how to do everything magically that day. With a clarinet, you're learning which reed works best for me, which reed, where are you going to get it? How are you going to find your cork waxed for putting your instruments together? And then where do you go to get your instruments fixed and maintained? And so there's all that learning that goes on. And my girls did not continue their instruments after high school, but I did have the opportunity when my daughter was dancing with Ballet Des Moines and also with Nolte Academy. They both do performances to live orchestras. And so the Des Moines Orchestra is the orchestra I had the opportunity to work with the most with. And that orchestra comes in, and when they are doing their rehearsal performances, when the ballet is doing the rehearsal performances, they need the orchestra there so that they get the timing together and all of that. And it was just so incredible to be a part of that whole ballet and orchestra experience. And so the ballet company organized that parents brought in dinner, and they would establish what the dinner was, and they needed X number of parents to bring in a pan of lasagna or dinner rolls or a salad or a dessert or whatever. And so the ballet company fed the orchestra while they were doing their rehearsals and everything. But what was so amazing was to watch, before my experience there, I'd only seen the high schoolers enjoying playing their instrument or seeing people on stage in the bands in the professional level. Let me tell you, there is nothing more rewarding than to watch how an adult continues to play their musical instrument with such pride, and that relationship that then carries on into the orchestra. It was so empowering to see how each person plays a role and how they all come together with that reverence and that passion to continue what lights them up. The passion they had. It was awesome. And these were not professional musicians. They had day jobs. They worked outside of the time they would come together as an orchestra. But that passion, when you feed it, when you tend to it, it matures. It doesn't expire. It just gets deeper. And then when you find out what it is that really makes you happy, that brings you to life, don't stop playing and find something. Yes, you have your 9 to 5, but you also need to do those things that really light you up. Because I don't think most of us have a 9 to 5 that really lights us up. And if it does, whew, you are so fortunate. You are so lucky. So when you look at the conductors in these situations, and then if we transfer this into real life living, Who is your conductor? Who is leading you along? Is this God? Is this a higher power? Is this source? Is it your intuition? Is it just the field that you're in that compels you to keep growing and moving forward and being the best that you can be? Here is Jacob Collier, the conductor. And I have to say, when I first saw him, I was taken back because stereotypically, I expect conductors to be in a tuxedo with the tails and all of this. And it reminds me to be comfortable in the clothes that you wear. He had on just a white button-down shirt, some bright orange pants, and his tennis shoes. And he was so comfortable in doing what he did. He didn't need a suit to command this orchestra. His gifts and his talents and being able to direct them spontaneously with this music was just amazing. He would and then he controlled the entire audience. The audience was in 3 or 4 different parts, and it was awesome. It was just, I encourage you to go watch the video. Go watch it. It's awesome. But what if you are both the instrument and the conductor? That you bring to life everything and that you direct the things that you're doing. What happens to your life when you start claiming the leadership in your own life? And sometimes we really have to listen before we can play. We need to follow the instructions, wherever those instructions are coming from, and that we know those are good. So just knowing that when we respond to what lights us up, then we're also stepping into that conductor's role in our own life, following those things that you can do. So I encourage you today and over the next week, hopefully you can do some deep thinking on this as well, but some questions to ponder as you're doing this deep thinking. What note are you here to play? And are you willing to practice? And I remember coaches telling the kids all along the way and being told myself, practice like you perform. When you practice the way you plan to perform, then when you're performing, it's just like the way you were practicing. When you show up in practice and you just give part, you're not giving your full on. When you go to give your full on in the actual performance, you're not going to make it. You're not going to have all, you're only going to be able to perform to the level that you've been practicing. So think of that. Practice like you want to perform. Put everything into your practice. That makes your best performance. So are you willing to practice, and are you willing to practice at performance stamina? And think about, are you judging your current level? Are you not allowing yourself that grace to know that you're in that messy learning stage and there's so much more to come? Stop judging where you're at right now. You're right where you are supposed to be. It's divine timing. And as you keep practicing at performance level, you're going to continue to perform. And then think about it. Who are you harmonizing with? Who is your symphony that is showing up with you? Who is your circle? Who can you count on? Who is growing with you? And sometimes we have to step out of our circle and we just have to grow. And that's okay. That's okay. We're going to find another one. But are you listening for that cue? Are you looking for when that opportunity comes? Are you looking for it? Are you ready to take that opportunity? So together, we make the world happen. Alone, we're making a sound. Together, we make the music. You're not random, you're placed. And today's angel card, oh, She was pretty cool. Um, she is the angel of light. And she reads, "The divine light of my soul flows through my being right now. If we are in a dark room, we won't be able to push darkness away with our hands or with our minds. We need to turn on the light. If we open ourselves to the inner light of the soul, it will transmute all darkness. Visualize now in your heart an expanding golden light that radiates warmth and clarity all around you. Feel this light expanding from an inner center and becoming the radiant sun of understanding love." And I would throw in there unconditional love. If I wrote this card, I would say unconditional love. So you are not behind. You are rehearsing. And I'm Amanda Beth with Amanda Beth Healing. I appreciate you coming in today and listening to us. I welcome you to come back every Tuesday, 11:30 Central Time. We go live and we talk about what reels did Amanda watch this week? How is life coming in, and how are you making it better?